You're watching CN2 News. Two Chester County principals wanted to make a difference during the pandemic. They started R.E.A.L.L and Educate LLC to help educators and parents during some tough times. They're focusing on literacy and leadership. CN2's R.E.A.L.L Jackson has more on how they're helping the community.
Create and Educate, we are a consulting firm that works with educators as well as entrepreneurs. So with the side where we're working with educators, we offer professional development on literacy as well as implicit bias. We work with leaders and leadership teams to help improve schools.
They've been surviving pandemic education by offering tips for school leaders, teachers, and parents.
We really want to see kids through the trajectory, graduating from high school, ready to go to college or to start a career or to go into the military.
R.E.A.L and Educate has multiple community partners in the area that read books to children weekly, discuss literature, and express their support for the education system. Recently, the owners were featured for Amazon's #1 best-selling book entitled Women Who Lead in Education.
And so we are super, super excited because we're amongst a family of women leaders who are absolutely extraordinary. So it's an honor to have been asked to participate. And then even more of an honor now that the book has gone on sale and it became a #1 bestseller. So you don't have to be a school leader to have leadership qualities.
Collectively, both Tammy Taylor, principal of Great Falls Elementary, and Dr. Sheka Houston, principal of Chester Middle School, have 40 years of service in education. They have learned the need in their community, and they plan to
serve all children in all communities. And one of the things that we enlighten people about in our professional development with literacy is that sometimes it's hard for children to connect to text because they don't see themselves in text. Providing that culturally relevant literature for students, and that's not just African American students, that's all students. Every student at every school should be able to see themselves in a book, in a text, to be able to connect with it.
Surviving pandemic education together in Chester. R.E.A.L Jackson, CN2 News.
Again, their goal is to help connect educators, parents, community members, and authors each week to help better navigate the pandemic. To learn.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Tammy.
Hey, Sheka. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So thankful to have you guys with us this morning. Hey, Jocelyn.
Good morning, Jocelyn. Yes, welcome to the R.E.A.L Academy. If you all would help us spread the word. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning.
Share the feed on your pages, invite others. The R.E.A.L Academy is based on Create and Educate's framework, our 5 super strengths of resilient schools and leaders. And our acronym stands for respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. All the things that we have conducted lots of research on, and we provide practical solutions for if the things that are needed, good morning, Josh, don't exist. We specialize in creating them and educating people about them. And if we are not creating them, good morning, Lamont, we are collaborating with other great professionals to try to get those things out into circulation for leaders, for educators, for parents. Yes. So thank you all again for joining us. And we are school turnaround principals. We have several resources on our website. If you would like to visit it for leaders and parents, www.createandeducate.solutions. We have a lot of great resources for math from one of our sponsors, EduMonitor. If your student or your child has experienced some, gotten behind a little bit in math, these are great resources. I'm using them with my own daughters, and they are doing phenomenal with those resources. And if you haven't pre-ordered our book, it doesn't have to be lonely at the top. You can do that on our website as well. And we are very excited that our Saturday PD has now been approved through some universities for continuing education credit. So that is phenomenal. Yes, Josh, I'm working on my 10,000 steps. I'm at 1,036, but I'm still working. I'm gonna get there, but by the end of the day. Good morning, Ms. Crawford. Curtis, good morning.
And
And
Arcella's with us.
Ella, good morning. Thank you all for joining us.
And Sheka, before we officially get started, we like to just send our condolences and our heartfelt sympathy to a big brother,
Yes.
Principal Hart. We are mourning with him the loss of his father
Yes.
this morning. So you may have noticed, I don't think he was on this
Mhm.
morning, but we want to extend our prayers and our condolences and thoughts to Principal Hurt and his family. And we hope that you guys are staying strong, and we pray for peace for you. And
Yes.
we'd like for you guys as a PD family, for our PLN, to just remember Principal Hurt and his family during his loss.
Most definitely. Please keep him and his family, as Tammy stated, in your thoughts and prayers. Losing a loved one is something that's very difficult, but something that, you know, when it's your parent, is really something that's very difficult to get through. So we are praying for him, and we hope that you all will join us in doing that as well. So today, and just as we've talked about this, so many people have experienced loss and so many different things because of the pandemic. Your educators in your building, some of your colleagues, some of your students have experienced loss at such tremendous and high rates. It's starting to become that thing where you just, you know, are continuing to hear about different stories because it's happening so much now, just due to what we are living through with the pandemic. So we thought that it would be great this morning to focus on how we can, as leaders and educators, promote optimism in the schools, because that's something that is needed, optimism and hope during this time. And we know that optimism can help educators and students with their outlook and with their engagement. Because if you are hopeful, if you are optimistic, that changes, you know, how you're operating currently and how you will continue to put forth your routines and the different things that are happening. And so many things have happened because of the pandemic, not just loss of family members or friends, but also economic hardship, food scarcity in some places, you know, the balance of going back from virtual to hybrid. People in general don't do well with change. So when we are continuing to change back and forth, it's hard, not just on the educators, but it's hard on students, it's hard on the parents. And when you're having all those shifts that you're having to prepare for, a lot of times that can cause stress. So one of the things that could be helpful. Good morning, Principal Kafele, thank you for joining us. One of the things that could be helpful in trying to promote that culture of optimism and hope during these difficult times is gratitude journals are something that I purchased for my staff members when I was in the building. And the gratitude journals, you know, can help keep a focus there on the optimistic thoughts, and that could even be extended to journaling for the students. Sometimes it's good to just get those things out, and not just, sometimes it's not just the positive things, but to get to the positive, sometimes you got to talk about the hardship or the loss, or, you know, what your current state is. A paper ball activity is one thing that our behavior interventionists used to come around and do with certain students before the day got started. Like, you know, what are you bringing with you to school? You know, we're not saying that you're not going to continue to have these things, but at least we'll know about it. And for right now, we're going to, you know, put it over here to the side and we'll talk about it later. It gave the teachers some insight on things that the children were going through. And also the behavior interventionist some insight on, well, wow, what do I need to work with this student on? What other resources do I need to bring in? What mentor should I match them up with? What are some things that you all did, Tammy, or
Yeah, we did journals too. I think that it's really, as you said, important for staff and students. Like my students have journals in every subject. I think, just as you said before, Sheka, in the space that we're in, I think it might not be bad to have an SEL journal for them to just kind of journal out how they're feeling or what they're thinking. But a part of my back to school gift to my staff each year is a journal, so that they have that outlet. Some people do well with that. That's something that I really like myself. But that's a strategy that I've used, and I'm so glad to hear that you really did go where we're going to try to go today, with making sure that everybody understands why it's so important to have an optimistic and hopeful outlook, but just also wanting to be real, because that's what we try to do here, is keep it real and just talk about how sometimes it might seem overwhelming to the teachers and to the students to always have to see the bright side or to look forward to that silver lining, and it almost becomes cliche. But what we want to just encourage you as leaders this morning to do is to be that beacon that allows them to look to you for that, but respecting the fact that sometimes they don't feel like being optimistic, or they don't feel like there is any hope, but you're there as that cheerleader, pushing them on and propelling them to that next best thing, because it will get better. And this too shall pass, but not in a way that is not an acknowledgement of the fact that things are real and things do happen, so that they can see that you're sincere about it, and they don't feel like it's disingenuous when you're saying, oh, it's all it's going to be a great day. It can be a great day, and that is what we're looking forward to, but we're not being insincere when we're doing that with our staff.
And that's correct, Ms. Klingman. Things like this too shall pass, all of those types of statements, like it could be worse, or that's what we do. We monitor and adjust in education. Oh, I know it's hard, but we just need to push through. And, you know, those types of things are called toxic positivity. So, you know, like Tammy stated, you have to acknowledge where people are and not just, you know, have them to, oh, you get over it. We got to move on. We got to get the children educated. Yes, we have to do all of these things, but we also have to acknowledge the space that people are in right now and acknowledge their true feelings. So yeah, I understand, you know, how you're feeling. Do you need XYZ? Try to be a real, true help, you know, how you would really want somebody to respond to you, because people are going through some very real things, loss of, you know, family members, divorce. The pandemic has caused a rise in several different things. So you have to be realistic about where people are and what people need. And if they need time off, then that's where you make sure you're putting in what you need to happen to get them that time off that they need to be able to deal with whatever is going on.
And that whole refueling is a real thing. Like if I saw, and I think that you're completely right. Good morning, Mr. Missouri.
Yes,
Arcella said that a teacher signed an email yesterday, a tired teacher. We have to be willing to acknowledge that teachers are tired. And it is the reality of all that is expected from them, of them right now. It's a real, somebody else said, I think it was Deanna said, game is on. Like when we're in these trenches, it is game on. Like I'm with you. I tell them, you can take whatever you have to take out on me. We just have to be spot on and on our A game with these kids.
Right.
We have to be, because again, what we're telling you is something we hope that you can share with your teachers. And Sheka's going to talk about that in a little bit, about some of the resources that you can give to them that will help them to provide these same sort of spaces for the children that they serve in their classrooms. I've even told them, and Sheka, I told you this before, like I go into a room and I see a teacher helter skelter, I'll say in a second, look, I got it. You go on and take your lap around the building.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you need to do to regroup, to recover, because
Right.
you cannot be effective with students if you're not on point for yourself.
And sometimes as the leader, I used to take laps around my building. Sometimes you got to take a lap, take your lap, when it's time to tap out, and whatever that is that you need to do that, do it. And, some people would be like, oh, can I walk with you? Not right now. I kind of need my space. If you know that you're not in that space right now to, be in engagement with people, that you're really tapping out, do what you need to do to get back to where you can, to be at your best, to function for students and for teachers. Because
And that the lovely thing about it, Sheka, is there's no judgment. You can call me to relieve you if you get a
exactly.
second out of the classroom. I have people all over this building. We'll make this happen for you. And
Exactly.
I believe, as you said before, I think that teachers appreciate that genuine appreciation and respect for where they are and what space they're in.
Exactly. And we also have to let that transcend down to the students. Sometimes the students need to tap out. We talk about, sometimes there's your frequent flyers that you'll see going to the nurse, or they got to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes, or they got to do something. A lot of times these are your students that need to move. Make sure you're building in things for them to move. And sometimes they just need to tap out for a minute too. So, let them take a lap without judgment as well.
Exactly. I'm gonna give them a suggestion about that whole student thing, and I know this probably doesn't work at the
No, it's
secondary
fine.
level, but in a primary situation, say at least K through 3, pre-K through 3, actually, we created something on the back hall at the school. Right now, our cafeteria isn't in use because we are having lunches delivered to the classrooms to avoid so much congregating, because we're a small school. But on that back hall, we had set up a sensory obstacle course, so to speak, where because kids do need that space and time sometimes, they could take the child back there to kind of let them jump off some of that energy that they had, that was sometimes frustration, sometimes fear, sometimes just tired of being at school in a mask
Yes.
for 6 hours. So it's a very real possibility for us to be able to do that.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Tammy. And one of the other things that, and a lot of the things that we're talking about are coming from our partnership with Pear Inc. and 10 Big Bets on Optimism. They're actually going to be on the collaborative with us the 1st of February to talk more about the book. But one of the other things that's in the discussion guide, if you're a leader or if you're on a leadership team and you fill out the form on our website requesting the 10 Big Bets, we have a shipment going out today. There was a grant written for our partnership with Dr. Gil Nome from Harvard Medical School, where we're able to ship you the book for free, and it's helping you through the pandemic as well as beyond. But one other thing that this chapter talks about is that educators can lay the foundation for optimistic thinking in the classroom by what we talked about, acknowledging those shared hardships with students, setting goals for the future, but keeping the curriculum fresh. And some of the things that we can do to keep the curriculum fresh is focus on project-based learning. This is using what we know or what we're learning and how it can impact the world with project-based learning. Also, in history, we can talk about civilizations that really during a certain time were pulling themselves out of darker eras, like we are trying to get through right now with the pandemic. And then there's hopeful science where, for example, if you're out west in the California area and they have the wildfires all the time, from fires, you can talk about how the soil is enriched and more life comes from the soil after the fire. So just using that curriculum to try to help move in a positive and optimistic direction could help. And also building and encouraging that community within the classroom. Gratitude meditation is something that you can implement at the classroom level with students, as well as mindfulness. And this is making sure that the students are aware of their bodies, their breathing, how they can use their mind to bring gratitude or take gratitude to wherever they are. So we're actually teaching them coping mechanisms to be able to get through the things that are happening, because anxiety is a very real thing. It's a real thing for adults. It's a real thing for children. And the pandemic has brought on a whole lot more anxiety. So if we're not being cognizant of that with our students and trying to teach them coping mechanisms or skills, or incorporating that mindfulness into our classrooms and the curriculum, these are things that can really be of great help.
One of the things that Sheka mentioned was our discussion this morning is coming from the work that Dr. Gilnome has done in the 10 Big Bets. The information in his book and in the companion guide are tremendously helpful. What we're sharing with you is actually from chapter 1, and there's a section, an entire section devoted to key considerations, and there are resources that you can tap into. So we encourage you, if you're interested, please go on and complete the information to receive the 10 Big Bets. And of course, you'll receive the link for the companion guide so that you can also have that. There is so much more that we can say, because this is a very powerful topic, and we definitely want to make sure that you all know how we are in this same struggle together. All of us are feeling the woes of the times that we are currently faced with. And that's a result of the pandemic and other things. I mean, it's just the changes that we experience in how things are at this current moment. But we also maintain that hope and optimism that we will get through this. We can create those safe havens. We want our schools to be considered that, because that's what we want to provide for our students and our staff. We can revisit and come back to some of the points that we didn't get to today, because we only have 2 minutes before we have to get out of here, so that we're not in the way of Principal Taylor, because we would love for you guys to join us over there so that we can all see. Carlos Johnson is going to be his guest today, so we're so looking forward to that. But as usual, we want to say thank you for joining us this morning, and we pray that you will maintain that eternal optimism and hope for yourselves. We're here to encourage you so that you can be that beacon of hope and optimism for your staff and for your students, your parents, and your community, because that's important. And I think that's what's going to be needed for us to survive the times that we're currently faced with. And we really are stronger together.
We are. And I wanted to acknowledge Melinda's comment about the trauma-informed school practices, that training she's having for resiliency. And she also uses gratitude journals. That trauma-informed training is so essential right now, because there are so many students and teachers, educators that are experiencing different levels of trauma. So being able to recognize that is really important. And R.E.A.L.L mentioned how in her virtual space, she created a breakout room to allow students to message her for a tap out. And I love that, because students in virtual settings also need that moment as well.
Space. Yeah.
Right. and parents at home, you know, sometimes you might have to set that up at home, you know, when you're recognizing when your child kind of has had enough of sitting in front of a computer screen and, you know, might just need to take a break, a lap around the house. You know, we have to, you know, be able to recognize where our children and students are and be able to try to help them cope through everything that's happening right now.
Absolutely.
So thank you all so much for joining us.
Be encouraged, guys. We pray that you all maintain.
Yes, and we also want to announce that we are part of the Emoja Collective group. They're going to be having a Special Education Advocates of Color 2022 virtual summit. So we will have information about that on our page. We are going to be vendors at that particular event. And please join us over on Principal Kafele's page, where he will be interviewing this morning our good friend Carlos Johnson. He is doing some phenomenal work. So we will see you all there. Thank you all.
You're in for a treat, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. Hope you guys know we did.
Yes, we are enjoying the snow here in the South. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.